Hi everyone, it's Kim with Let Them Eat Gluten-Free Cake.
Today I'm going to show you how to make my new and improved gluten-free croissants. They're light and flaky on the outside, soft and buttery on the inside, and they're easier to make and also take less time to make. So let's get into this. For the butter block, add 2 tablespoons of gluten-free bread flour blend to 2 sticks of butter. And just mix this together in a small bowl. You can also use a mixer, but there's really no need for that. And once you get it all mixed together, put it into a quart size zip top baggie. The quart size is the perfect size for the thickness that we want our butter block to be. Make sure to scrape up all of that butter because that's going in your croissants. And then what I like to do is zip up all but about one corner, like an inch or so of the zip top baggie, push it all into the corners, and then roll it out with my rolling pin until it's nice and flat. And I kind of wait to get to that one corner that's open and slowly roll it so it doesn't all squeeze out. But it does let the air out at the same time so you don't get all these air bubbles. Now put this in your fridge and lay it flat in your fridge while we get started on the dough portion. Now this dough I made yesterday, and we're only going to use half the dough. This is my recommendation. Start with half. You'll use that full butter block for half the dough. So if you want to make the other half, you'll need to make another butter block, if that makes sense. The reason I say to use half this dough is because you don't know how this dough works yet, and croissants can be really tricky. I think I would rather use half the dough, learn how to do it, learn the lamination, because this is so much different than gluten or wheat-based baking. Then once you've got it down, then you can make 6 more croissants with the other half of the dough. Or you can make a whole new recipe of dough and then make 12 croissants at a time. And right here I'm just kneading the dough just to get it nice and smooth. It's nothing to do with, developing gluten, because there is no gluten, of course. And now I'm going to roll it out until it's about a half an inch thick. And you don't have to be precise in this particular instance, because what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the freezer. And this really makes a difference in making the distinct laminating of the butter in between. So put this in the freezer, for 10 minutes, flip it over, and do it for 10 minutes more. The dough and the butter block should feel roughly the same temperature at this point. I always like to run my butter block along the edge of the counter. If it breaks, it's too cold, leave it out for like 5 minutes before messing with it. But you can take kitchen shears and remove it from the baggie and set that aside while you roll out the dough a little bit longer. I don't really give measurements here. I just am looking for the butter block to fit into the top 2/3 of the dough. And you'll see right here, that's the top 2/3 of the dough, with a little border there because you're going to want to encase it and lock it in, is what they call it. So fold the dough over on the bottom, 1/3 of the way, and then the top, fold that over the other 1/3 of the way down. Make sure you press the edges really well to seal it in or lock it in, and start pressing with your rolling pin all along the length. What you want to do here is elongate the dough and the butter at the same time. Then you can start actually rolling from the center out and then move it around so you can get it a little wider. And again, I don't go for measurements here. I'm more like looking for about in between a quarter to a half-inch thick. The thickness to me matters more than the actual length and size of the dough. And I use this wonderful ruler I have to straighten up the edges. Always remove the excess flour so it doesn't get folded in. So now what you want to do, the second fold is going to be a book fold. So fold the top or the bottom about 1/3 of the way up and the top 2/3 of the way down, and then fold that top yet again, and you'll end up with 4 layers there in one fold. Now we're going to go straight into folding and turning once again. Normally with croissant making, you would stop here, you'd put it in the fridge, let it firm up for 30 minutes or so, but we're going straight into the next fold and turn. And the reason that I feel we can do this is because we put the dough in the freezer for those 20 minutes at the start. So if you work pretty quickly, you can have this done in under an hour. You can have the folding and the turning done in under an hour. Now we're going to do just a regular letter fold, which is just folding over the top halfway down and the bottom halfway up. Brush away your excess flour. And that was our third and final fold. So now what I like to do is go ahead and roll it out to roughly the shape that it's going to be in when we go to make the croissant triangles. This just makes it easier, I feel, for when we are ready to shape our croissants. And again, I'm not giving an exact measurement here, but it's roughly fitting the size of a quarter sheet pan. About a 1/2 inch thick. Cover it, put it in the fridge for at least 30 minutes, and then we'll begin to shape them. So when you take it out, dust it lightly with flour. And this is where I actually want to be precise with the measurements. You're looking for a 10 to 12 inch, 10 inch by 12 inch rectangle. I've trimmed the sides here, and then I'm going to go every 4 inches and put a little notch there. And using my ruler and cutter, I'm going to cut triangles out of each 4 inches, 2 triangles. So you're going to be left with a total of 6 triangles. Then take your cutter or pizza wheel, whatever you want to call it, and cut a notch that's about 1 inch high in the middle of the base of the triangle. Pull it apart slightly and roll them up. Now sometimes what I like to do, especially with this dough, because it's so much more extensible than any gluten-free dough I've ever made, is I kind of gently pull on the triangle tip. They do this quite often in wheat-based croissants. It's just to make them larger. But you have to be careful because this isn't wheat-based dough. So if you go too far, it will break. And once you have them all rolled up perfect, put them on a baking sheet, spread them out a little bit, and put them in a nice warm area to proof. Cover them, put them in a nice warm area to proof. All the instructions for times, temperatures, everything is on my website. There's a link below directly to the recipe. Just click that show more button and you'll see it. Now these have proofed and are fully risen. They're not going to be doubled in size. They're just noticeably puffy and a little bit larger. And we're going to brush them with an egg wash. My egg wash, I always use 1 egg, about a tablespoon of water, and just a pinch of salt. I found that the salt helps to denature the egg white so you don't get these globs of egg white. And then we'll bake them. Did y'all ever think you'd be able to have a wonderful croissant ever again? I sure didn't, but I didn't give up. I never give up when it comes to gluten-free baking. You can see all the flakiness, the spirals of layers. They're nice and soft on the inside, perfect for a sandwich, for just toasting, just eating straight up. They're so good, y'all. I hope you make them soon. Enjoy.